challenge. I said, John, if you want the job, you got to make this happen. And so he has dove in and has been a great partner along with Merrill and Bob Forbush and Sue Hershey and Don Hull. So it's been quite the summer educating everyone on this. And there have been some changes since the beginning, since our first workshop. And so really what we're going to do today is we'll go over the presentation with you, and we'll kind of talk about what's changed as we go through this, and then we'll open it up for questions. But while we're presenting, I'm going to make sure that you you are all muted.
Is there, but you don't have a picture.
So yeah, I just muted her. So with that, I would just ask that you just continue to keep yourself muted, because we can pretty much, everyone can yes. Hold on, let me unmute you.
You gotta unmute.
I'm on now.
Okay.
I'm talking to Joy. She can't get her sound to work in Montana.
Okay. Can she hear us?
Can you hear, Joy? I can hear you. She can only hear me.
Okay, so
can put
tell
the phone
her to go down to the bottom of her computer.
Wait a minute. She said she can hear you now, Sean. Oh, through my phone. I'll leave my phone up.
So tell her to go down to the bottom of her computer to the right where the speakers are, and see if that is, if the speakers are turned off or turned on.
Are you getting that?
Yeah, it's turned on. I have it on my phone, the GoToMeeting, and it keeps saying reconnecting.
Okay. So there's probably a problem with maybe the internet or something, but maybe Mrs. Garlington, what you could do is, could you leave the phone up to the speaker?
Yes.
So she can hear? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Great. So I'm going to go ahead and mute you again, Mrs. Garlington.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
Okay. And then, so what we'll start out with, just saying that when we started this program back in August, doing these workshops, it was a definitive, we were going to go to a vote in October with the plan to start this program January 1st. We did a total of 12 workshops. And through those workshops, we got a lot of feedback. We have a lot of positive feedback, but we.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. He just had to say to Audra that it wasn't recording, and it started working. So how about that? So, so back to this point of any overage for a given month is charged to the next month. So essentially what that means is, just like it works now, if you go over your allotted number of meals for the month, any additional meals will be placed on your monthly service fee bill the following month. Likewise with this, if you go over the $600, you'll just, that amount that you go over will be added to your monthly bill. We did have one question in the workshop of, where does that additional money go? And that money, so if you go over and we charge you for that, that money stays right here at the community at Sandhill Cove. It goes into, it hits our operating account, and that money stays right here at the community. LCS doesn't take it out and, you know, take that additional money. In fact, Jonathan would need that money in his food budget to be able to replenish his inventory. Okay. So a summary comparison, we're going to tag team here. So the meal a day right now, it is what it is, right? It's one meal per day. And if you eat more than one meal per day, then you essentially are consuming more, and you could potentially go over your number of meals in that month. But regardless if you come down for a light breakfast or a light lunch or a full dinner, it's one meal a day. And under personal choice,
you'll have a monthly account with a priced menu daily. And this is one of those things where I feel this program really does shine, is because as Sean's saying, if you come down right now with our current program for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it's a meal credit. If you have scrambled eggs and bacon, that's a meal credit. If you come down for dinner, and you have filet mignon, that's a meal credit. Under the personal choice dining, these menus will have prices. So you come down for breakfast, you're going to just pay for whatever the eggs and the bacon are, and then you can, in a sense, use your money to then possibly even come down and have a lighter dinner if you chose with your friends. So you don't have to pick and choose whether you're going to have breakfast today or dinner. You can do both essentially.
So under meal a day, there's a fixed price for every meal.
And then with the personal choice dining, there's a menu priced by item and portion, only pay for what you order. So something else that is another point for this program is that with the meal a day, if you come down for dinner right now and you order a half portion of whatever you're having, that's still going to cost you a full meal credit. Under personal choice dining, there will be prices for larger and smaller portions. So again, you're only paying for what you order.
Under meal a day, premium entrees are only offered on special occasions, and this is a real biggie here. And this is where choice really comes into play under the personal choice. But under the meal a day, we can't possibly afford to offer premium items any more frequently as we do. For instance, we did the Lobster Fest at the beginning of September, and then occasionally we have rack of lamb and so forth. But under the personal choice dining,
these premium items can be available regularly because again, you're going to be paying for what you get. So we can have lobster tail on the menu, we can have rack of lamb on the menu. These items can appear more frequently and be on there regularly versus like these special occasions. Mr. Snyder has a fabulous story that he's told at the workshops here on campus where he talks about the night where we had rack of lamb as a special one evening, and the 5 o'clock people got it and the 5:30 people got it, but when it came to 6 o'clock it was gone, and he's still upset about that.
Under meal a day, guest meals cost two full meal credits. So in order for you to use your meal credits, you have to give up 2 meal credits to cover 1 guest meal.
And under personal choice dining, it'll only be a 10% charge on top of the menu price. So if the item is priced at $20 for an item, then your guest would simply be paying $22.
So under the meal a day, we currently offer and allow for a carryover of 5 meal credits each month. Under the personal choice,
it'll be a carryover of 10% of the total monthly allowance. So we've agreed to $600. So you will be able to carry over up to $60 from month to month, not to exceed $60.
And the other thing here is that you can also treat a friend. Now this kind of gets some mixed reviews in the workshops, but you can use your unspent money to treat a friend to a meal if you so desire. Otherwise, you can carry up to $60, not to exceed $60 from month to month. So another benefit here, currently under the meal a day program, you have to be away for 30 consecutive days. Under the personal choice dining program,
you only have to be away for 14 days. So plan your 2-week cruises.
Next up, complete meal creates concerns about waste under personal choice.
Specific item ordering creates less waste. This is something that was talked about when we were researching the program. Several communities notice a decline in food waste when transitioning over to personal choice dining. It's just something that's a little bit harder to put a finger on what's causing that.
Under the meal a day, the Cove dining is charged at the same rate as the main dining room. And so what John has tried to do is work on pricing the menu of the Cove to be.
So the Cove menu items are generally priced lower than the main dining room because it's typically lighter fare, sandwiches, salads, and handhelds of that nature, so that they're not as, we're not going to have lobster tail necessarily at the Cove.
And under the meal a day, residents receive some choice and variety, but the real kicker here under personal choice
is that the residents get far more choices, and then this is that it is an industry trend going towards personal choice dining. It is going to help us maintain a high rate of occupancy and more choice naturally. More choice is always good for everyone, both current and future residents.
I had a choice question for you, if I may.
Yes, absolutely.
Are the current choices that are on the menu now? I guess I think there's a chicken, usually there's a beef, there's a fish, and there's some others. Are those going to still be maintained, or are those going to change in some way?
Do you mean on the sample menu that we sent you, or the current menu at the community?
Current one meal a day program. There's usually over on the right side there was a column which said, it had beef, had a fish, it had chicken usually. I think it had a burger. I'm trying to remember what they all were. And
basically, chicken, salmon, and filet were available every day if you wanted that.
Are those going to still be there?
That's like for carry out. I know.
Yeah. No. So we would have our always available items. So you'd always be able to get the salmon and the chicken and the steak. Those things are there as a comfort food to always be available. So that wouldn't change under personal choice dining.
Like for instance, Mr. and Mrs. Kowecki, we have on the sample menu, we have a sockeye salmon that's a little bit of a better quality and a higher grade. So that would be, that could be a premium upcharge for a meal a day person, or it could be just something that the personal choice or the personal choice diners may elect to go with the current type of salmon that we have. So we're going to have, we'll have salmon, and then we'll have the sockeye salmon, and then we may offer a 4 ounce or a 6 ounce fillet for the meal a day. And then if somebody wants to buy a larger piece of fillet at 8 ounces, then they can do that.
That's something Mr. Snyder has talked about previously at other workshops, is the idea of that choice not only extends towards selection, but it also extends towards quality. So that's where we'll always have the Atlantic salmon available, but there might be times where we do feature the sockeye salmon, which is a wild caught salmon, and that would be an option. The same thing as what Sean is saying, where the meal a day people might have the option of the 4 ounce fillet, 4 to 5 ounce, but then personal choice dining might also get the option to order a 6 ounce or an 8 ounce.
No problem with that. I understand that. I was just trying to be sure if there were other changes on the other program that we weren't aware of. That was all.
Let's see here.
Sean, I have a question on the salmon.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Salmon is pretty much the mainstay of a lot of residents. When there's something on the menu that we don't care for, we order salmon. And I understand what you just said. In the meal a day place, you still order the salmon, the kind we've been getting. But on the sample menu, on the sockeye, it does have a smaller fee for a smaller piece in the meat and in some of the other things. And I wondered if the sockeye salmon would also have two different prices, a smaller portion and a larger portion. And it doesn't
Yes,
have to be done right now. It's just something that you might think about because a lot of people order salmon.
Right.
certainly.
I like when they give you the out of, you don't have to answer it right now. It's just something to think about.
Oh, I'm going to send you an email.
Good question. Yeah, if you look at the menus, there are in many places two prices, and so what Jonathan has tried to do is to create half portion sizes for people to choose from. So again, just to create more choice. So under personal choice dining, we really feel, and what we've seen in other communities and what other communities have experienced is that it really is, it's designed to be more equitable for you as the individual. So every resident has the same monthly stipend in personal choice. Every resident chooses from the same list of offerings at the same price. And then every resident
Eats what they want and pays accordingly. All residents have one set of rules. No resident unknowingly subsidizes another resident's dinner.
And so when we were really trying to sell this, this was an important slide. And it still is important, but it's not, it doesn't, you know, hold the value that it once did when we were trying to present this to everyone to get them to a positive vote. But in essence, this personal choice, it really does provide a greater equity to everyone here on campus. And here's an example. You want to take this, John?
So you choose a half portion of soup or salad and meal a day. With this smaller choice, you get less value for your money, same cost as a 4-course dinner. You in effect cover costs of multi-course dinners enjoyed by other residents. Personal choice dining, you pay only for what you consume, much more equitable. So the crux of this slide is the idea that you know, with it being a meal credit and with our plate cost, the only way we can afford currently to put items like filet mignon on the menu is for every resident that orders a cheeseburger is in sense subsidizing the resident that's ordering filet mignon. I had a resident call it during when we were doing these workshops. They came up to me and they said, you know, it's very much like a socialist dining program. So, but that's again, that was back when we were trying to take a vote. So.
All right, so that concludes the presentation. We're going to jump back over, so we're going to unshare the screen. So just give us a minute or two.
Joy Funston has a question whenever you're ready.
Okay, stop sharing. There we go. Okay, can you see John and myself again?
Yes.
Okay, great. And Joy, go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you. First of all, the mechanics at the table ordering when the check comes. I know many times when a check comes in a restaurant, there's errors. How will that be handled? Is that something you have to call accounting the next day, or will it be handled immediately?
Yeah, so that's that actually is one of the great features of this program. So right now, with the way the meal credit system works, a lot of times there are those end of the month phone calls for a mischarge, or that wasn't my guest, that was my friend's guest at the table. With the personal choice dining and having that option of getting the check at the table, that can be corrected, as you're saying, can be corrected like it would be at a restaurant, like, oh wait, no, those aren't my guests, that's you know, Miss Garlington's guests, and I'm not paying for her guests today. So that's how that would be resolved. So it would actually resolve those issues that we have sometimes with the end of the month calls to accounting, that would all be taken care of right then and there at the table.
Okay. Second question, thank you. the carryover, right now we can carry over 5 meals,
Mhm.
and virtually you're cutting it to 3.
So interestingly enough, what we noticed is with the with using the 10%, most residents use their carryover meals for guests, which under the current system with meal of a day, that is, 2 meal credits per guest. So that's 2, 2, and 1. So that's 2 guests and 1 resident. And then if you look at the carryover of the $60, then with an average meal price of around somewhere between either lower or higher than $20, that would effectively still be 3 meals to bring a guest.
3. The $60 is 3 meals, not
It
5.
could effectively be 3 meals depending on how you dine. You could also come down for breakfast several times or lunch, which would have a lighter cost.
Okay, so that was deliberately made lighter. The number.
It wasn't deliberately made lighter. So an interesting thing that we didn't talk about with this virtual is that several communities that go to personal choice dining do not actually have the option to have a carryover at the end of the month. But we were very fortunate when we began these discussions. Roberta, Sean's regional, was here on property, and Sean invited her over to the meeting. And Sean pitched for our community to get to be able to continue having a carryover option, and she agreed to it. And through our discussions, we came to the amount of $60.
Okay, thank you. And
You're
my
welcome.
third question is about vegetables at the Cove.
Okay.
They aren't listed on the menu.
Oh, I do apologize. No, we do have vegetables at the Cove. It's not a vegetable-free zone. It is there. They are there.
Many people I know personally, I always try to get 2 green veggies instead of
As
starch.
do I.
So that can be done because there's no veggies here.
Yes, that can be done. I encourage you when you come home from Montana, please try the candied Brussels sprouts. They are the rave of Sandhill Cove.
They sound wonderful. I don't know how healthy, but really wonderful. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to break in with a couple too, if you don't mind, because a lot of people also like the Mandarin salads.
Mhm.
So if it's not on the menu of this sample menu, and
So,
does
yeah,
that change
so-
every 2 weeks?
Yeah, no, so we still have our Mandarin salad, and we would still have the Mandarin salad. I would encourage, those are sample menus, so don't get too hung up on the specific items you're seeing.
Okay.
It was really just there to give you the view of what a menu with prices at Sandhill Cove could look like. But we do still have the Mandarin salad.
And how about omelets? Sometimes people just want an omelet for dinner
We,
in the
we-
Cove anyway.
we do our best to accommodate that. We don't have omelets in the Cove right now. I have been hearing that from residents, and we are looking at that, but I do encourage everyone to please try our delightful breakfast service.
Okay.
There were a couple of questions. One was, of course, my question earlier about what happens if you're in Water's Edge, which I'd like to get a feeling for. The other is, does it make any, we do carry out sometimes. Does it make any difference whether you do a carry out of the dining room versus the Cove? I mean, we used to pick it up both places. I mean, how is all that stuff changing, I guess?
So right now we do have a carryout menu that is that is the carryout menu. So you would just order off of that. We've also started online ordering, so you're able to do that as well. So those carryout menus would have prices on them under the personal choice dining. So it would operate the same as the dining room. For Water's Edge, there are other communities that have opted to have personal choice dining in both their skilled nursing and their independent living, but we have decided not to do that. So we're going to continue with the meal program as it is at Water's Edge and just have the option for the personal choice dining on independent living.
But in addition to that, Mr. Kowecki, if, for instance, you were permanently assigned in the healthcare center, say you were there receiving Medicare rehab services, and you wanted to come over to the main dining room for your you know, for your meal, you can certainly do that. And essentially whatever you order, you can order whatever, you know, personal choice dining type foods. So,
Okay. Okay, great.
yeah. So I'm trying to think what else regarding this we haven't covered. The entree. So with the personal choice dining entree, you'll get 2 sides. So it's the entree plus 2 sides and
Soup or a salad.
super salad. The other thing is there were questions about whether or not you could use your personal choice dining allowance to fund your happy hour, the happy hour festivities. And no, we're not permitting that.
So the ancillary charges that we currently have would remain the same. So if you order a glass of wine or a cocktail from the bar, you would still be paying for that separately from the dining program. Same thing with meal packaging and delivery, you would still be paying for that separately.
I still can't get my head around.
You met your quota for questions, Ms. Garlington, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I got some more. Is how it's going to work, because, okay, we've got, and you say you've got to work out some of the details, and I believe you and agree with that. But I just am thinking, okay, we have 6 people for dinner. 3 of them are on personal choice, and 3 of them are on meal a day that we meet every Friday, say.
Okay.
How are they going to know, and how are they going to do that?
You're going to have to make new friends. No, I'm kidding. So the way the program works, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. So the bulk of this program, I would say, truly runs on the computer. So just like it does now, we have the point of sale system that the wait staff uses to put your orders in. There, it's basically just, for us, it would just be like turning on a switch, like turning on a light switch and activating the personal choice dining. So they're going to come to your table. Everyone's going to have the same menu. You're going to place your order. They're going to go and put that order into the computer, and the computer is going to know who's on meal a day, who's on personal choice. Our goal is that the wait staff will be using tablets at that point. So another question that often comes up is, well, what about, you know, our neighbors and our friends who might not be aware of what their program is? They're going to have an alert that lets them know, you know, this resident's on meal a day. So if you're sitting down with a friend and they go to order the lobster tail and they're on meal a day, we're going to alert them to that upcharge in that moment, so that there's no concern of them, you know, being surprised at the end of the month. Because for them, it would still come to them on a monthly billing statement, not a receipt. So that's how that would work.
But you would charge them an upcharge, but they would be charged an upcharge.
That is one of the things that we're exploring and refining.
This is not relevant particularly to which program maybe. Are you still doing the billing that like the 22nd, 3rd of the month to the next 22nd or 3rd? I was trying to understand the mechanics.
That billing, that will remain our billing cycle.
So Meryl, are there questions? Is there anything that you think that was left off, Meryl?
Oh, he's on. Okay.
I don't think so, not right now. I mean, it didn't occur to me during the whole thing. No, I don't think we've left anything out right now, but if there's other questions, let's get them now if we can. Any other questions?
Just one comment about the Jonathan's comment a few moments ago about the pricing or an upcharge if you're on the meal a day, but you get the lobster will pricing be made clear to everyone, whether you're on the personal choice dining or your meal a day and you get something different?
Yes, we've talked with another community that runs this program this way with the dual program, and there is a it's like an asterisk that lets residents know that this item has this price for personal choice dining, but this price for the meal a day. So it would be very clear on the menu.
We've kicked around whether or not we have 2 menus versus 1 menu, and what other communities are saying is that 1 menu is the best route to go because it cuts down on the opportunity for error when you're seating somebody, when the server comes up, and it just kind of keeps the community as one. So to Jonathan's point, yes, the menu will have pricing on it. So the meal a day people will be able to see, all of the items and also see what it would cost for an upcharge.
Great, okay.
Do you have an idea of how the Sandhill Cove is leaning, the percentage either way? And when
Everyone was going to
make that
vote
decision?
yes on this, and we just decided to go with the dual program anyway.
Well, so the reality of what we were being faced with initially, it was leaning really towards the meal a day. I mean, there were workshops that we got beat up pretty good at. But it seemed like as the initial rumors and the initial perceptions of why we were moving to personal choice, as that diminished, people became more comfortable. People were attending the workshops, 2 and 3 times to seek more information and seek, more to understand. It actually, I felt like, and you guys can chime in here, I felt like the pendulum started swinging more towards the personal choice dining. But I think through all of this, what we learned is that there are, regardless if we have 67% affirmative vote to move the personal choice dining forward or not, there is a segment of our community that feels very strongly about the meal a day program and liking it. And the dissension that was causing was not, it just didn't feel right. It wasn't good. It wasn't a healthy environment for our community. So I think, us shifting to offer both programs, I think in the long run, it will pay dividends just because it will keep everyone happy. And then over time, that meal a day program, it will phase out, as in future years, it will begin to phase out as contracts change and people pass on, I don't know how else to say that. But,
Sean,
yeah.
Sean, I think you're absolutely right. I think initially when people didn't know an awful lot about the 2 different programs, the second program versus the first, it definitely was slanted in one direction. But I think you're absolutely right. As we kept going with more of these workshop sessions and people learned what the reality was of the PCD, personal choice dining, the tide started to shift. I don't think it's shifted all the way over so everybody now wants that. But I think the more they see it, and now if they're able to live with it for a while and observe it, it's going to be a much, well, I tried to get that in. I think, the more experience that they're seeing and having, the more people are going to see that that's a beneficial program. And I think we were well underway to start that. But I think at that point in time, there was enough people who were really wedded to the meal a day that the best thing in the world to do was to do the combined program and let everybody at least get up close to it so they can see how it really works in practice. And then they can make their own decision at that point.
Mr. Fruit, I see that
Has
you're
another-
not.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, geez. I think I'm getting feedback from one lap. Oh, that's handy.
Mrs. Garlington, do you want to jump back over?
Hello?
Joy Funston had another question.
Oh, you know what? I think Paul is with Jenny, so I think Jenny's going to ask the question.
Well, I can ask it. What happens like in our situation where we're 5 or 6 months in Pennsylvania and the other half here down in Sandhill? What happens to the credit?
It would operate the same as it's operating now. You would receive the, just instead of it kicking in after 30 days, it would start kicking in every 14 days.
And so you would be reimbursed the raw food costs, just like you are now.
For the whole time we're away.
Correct. Yeah, there would be no different to how it's done now. The only difference would be that it would start essentially 16 days earlier, right? Because we're moving from 30 days being away to 14 days being away. Okay.
Okay, another point, the guest cost on the menu plan is twice the, is that 2 times the cost on the menu?
No. It's so right now with meal a day, it's 2 credits, but under the new program, it would only be 10% of the menu items cost on top of it. So if it's a $20 item, it would be a $22 item for a guest.
Gotcha.
Okay. Anything else? I see your, yeah, okay. Are you able to unmute, Mrs. Garland? There you go.
Okay, now,
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes? Okay, since we are not having a contentious meeting, we're not here. Jonathan's laughing. I can see you all. What were some of the concerns voiced at the other meetings? The main concern, besides not liking change?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we heard from people was that they just don't want to be hassled. They don't want to have to be looking at a receipt and, you know, checking to see how much money they have left over or what have you. That was one thing, and you know, we talked through that and essentially came to the conclusion that if people continue to eat the way they do now, that wouldn't be a problem for them. Most people, the majority of people, probably including yourself, could eat on $20 a day. And of course, that $20 a day is, you know, Jonathan worked on the menu pricing to come up with that $20 a day, which then drives that $600 a month. But it was the hassle part, you know, it was feeling like you had to look at your receipt and make sure you knew where you were. And then to the contrary, people would say, who cares if I go over? I'm just going to pay for it. And it doesn't matter. And in fact, in one workshop, a lady asked, I love this example. A lady asked if she could eat rack of lamb every single day, and another person in the workshop said, well, no, you can't do that. And so as we talked through that, the residents said, well, if I want rack of lamb every single day, then I'm going to pay for it, and I don't care if I go over it, you know? So it's just it's a difference in philosophy and desires and the choices that people make. But to your question, the hassle part was about the receipt. If I eat rack of lamb every day, then I'm going to go over, and I need to be watching my receipt to make sure that I don't go over. That sort of thing. What other things can you guys think of?
I mean, I really feel like those were, if you're looking for like the crux of it, I mean, that really was like, those were the two things, was like the fear of change, and then the hassle of it. The perception that, you know, somehow LCS is, you know, going to win with this, and, you know, that was a thing, that was a myth that we kind of dispelled with the fact that any of the money coming in from this program would stay at the community to offset purchasing.
The other thing that came up was concern for your neighbors who may be cognitively impaired and not be able to track with this program. That came up, and I think that as Jonathan and Mary work together now, they help people navigate the Meal a Day program now, and so that would continue to be their commitment if the individual's family or the individual themselves chose to go to the personal choice dining. So there was a concern about just navigating that, you know, as the mind starts to decline. Meryl, can you think of any other?
The only other thing is, I mean, it is true that if you actually, in today's plan, if you order everything there, it's going to be hard to stay within $20. That's a fact. You know, in other words, if you have soup, salad, and an appetizer to start with, it's going to be very hard to stay within $20. You know, and I think some people are concerned about that, but I don't, you know, that's a very specific individual thing. And the number of choices that we offer in the personal choice dining, I think, makes up for all of these things that could be possible problems for going to it. That's my feeling.
I'm just going to throw out that I would like for you to consider that you could change your mind one time. If you try something and you absolutely don't like it, you can change your mind one time.
Yeah, and you know
because
what,
I would like to try it. I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. I would like to try this new personal choice, but I don't want to be stuck in something, you know, given a month's trial or something. I don't want to be stuck in something that I don't really want.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, Mrs. Garlington. I honestly think that that's where we're headed. I think we just need to refine those details and sort that out. But that's exactly what we've talked about. Knowing that the shift is occurring, and you know, and I will tell you that in one community that we were talking to, who implemented this program this year, they went live with it in January. They were 15%. They only had 15% people who jumped over to the personal choice dining, and now they're projecting over 75% 10 months later. So I think, to your point, we need to create some opportunity for people to try it before they jump in full force.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that really concludes everything that I think we wanted to share with you. There will be more information coming, of course, with the shift away from the vote that has been communicated to the community. I did include that in the weekly update last Friday. So now we just need to regroup and kind of create our communication plan and how we move forward. I think, you know, some exciting news you may or may not have seen in the weekly is that we have hired an executive chef. His name is Anthony Williams. He comes to us from Piper's Landing, where he was for 16 years. And so we're just delighted that he is joining us. So he's going to be a big help to John and instrumental in helping to create the menus. And there's some other work that we need to do too. We want to make sure that we have the tablets, and we want to make sure that the staff are trained on using the tablets and so forth. So now that we're not running a race anymore, we can kind of slow up and just make sure that those critical elements have been well thought out and are in the infrastructure for this program to be an even greater success. So more to come on that. So
Okay.
all right, well, thank you everyone for your time and attention, and if you have any other questions, feel free to email John or myself, and we would be happy to answer them for you. So
Joy said one more.
sure.
I had a question on the Cove. Is it going to be user friendly as far as you can drop in, or is it reservation?
So the format for the Cove right now is we are taking reservations for parties of 5 or more, just to address any wait or delay with larger tables, but parties of 4 or less can come down to the Cove. We just ask that you wait in the lobby to be seated, but you do not have to make a reservation. So it's the same as if you went to a restaurant downtown.
Good.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, real quick, when's everyone coming back?
I'll be back the end of October by Halloween.
Got your Halloween costume ready?
I do.
We're about the same time, Sean.
Great. And I know that Jenny and Paul, you're coming in on October 17th.
Yes.
All right. And Joy, how about you?
I'm about November 3rd or 4th. We're driving,
Okay.
so weather is an issue.
All right. And Mr. Bohan? And Mrs. Villalba, I thought I saw you on campus the other day. Are you back? I think she is.
She is back, but she didn't have a chance to go to a workshop, and so she asked Audra to include her.
Great. Tom, I see that you unmuted yourself. When are you headed back? Okay. All right. Well, on that note, thank you everyone for joining us.
Have a great
Thanks
day.
for holding us. Take
Thank
care.
You're
Thanks.
welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.